Being told you've got cancer when you're 32 years old is a big shock to the system. In 2020, I was diagnosed with cancer, melanoma, skin cancer. And I remember when I got diagnosed, I was like, how the hell has this happened to me? Why has this happened to me? And I'm going to take you through it because my mole didn't look like cancer. And that's part of the reason why I left it for so long. So it started in probably around February or March. And I noticed there was a little mark on the back of my leg. And I noticed it in the shower. And I just thought to myself, have I always had that? I'm not really sure if I have. And I kind of just carried on not really thinking about it, to be honest, because I was like, I'm in my 30s. It's never going to happen to me. Then cue lockdown. Lockdown obviously happened. Shit time for everybody. So this mole had kept getting bigger. And in my head, I was thinking, I don't want to go to the doctors. I don't want to put any more stress on anybody just to be told, it's nothing, you're fine. And I genuinely thought it was going to be nothing and I was fine. But it kept getting bigger. And in the end, it was actually Brad, my husband, that said to me, he was like, you need to go and get this mole looked at because it was waking me up during the night and it was becoming really, really itchy. So this is what it looked like. And it didn't look like any of the pictures that you see on Google or anything like that. So I, at the time, wasn't really that concerned, to be honest. So I booked myself in with the GP, and I was quite lucky, actually, that the GP that I had was actually a skin specialist at the hospital. So she took one look at it, and I just remember her saying to me, how long have you had this? And I was like, a few months. And she was like, right, well, I'm going to get you in to have it taken out, and we're going to do a biopsy. So I had to wait around 2 weeks for a biopsy. So fast forward 2 weeks, I go in, have my appointment. It was really quick. And I said to the lady, you know, what happens now? And she said, well, you just wait. And if there is anything, we'll get in touch with you. And if not, then we won't. So it was about a week later, I'd been at my friend's house and I was driving home and I missed a call from my doctors because I was driving. So as soon as I got home, I rang them back and I said, you know, someone's tried to ring me. Can you tell me what's going on? They couldn't get the doctor to ring me back and they said, well, we can get someone to call you back tomorrow. And I was like, okay, fine. I think it's for my test results, blah, blah, blah. Still at this point thinking, it's fine. So the next day, the doctor rings me. And this poor doctor had absolutely no idea what he was about to tell me. He's thinking that he's ringing me for like a routine checkup appointment. So first thing he says is, what can I help you with today? And I said to him, I'm due some test results. He then obviously was looking at my notes, obviously realised what he was about to tell me and started kind of skirting around the issue, to be honest. He just kept saying to me, has anyone said anything about test results? Have you spoken to a consultant? Have you spoken to a doctor? I was like, no, I haven't spoken to anyone. I just went in, had a test, and now I'm waiting for results. And then he said, has anybody spoke to you about having cancer? And I said, no. And he just said, well, you've got it. And yeah, that was how I was told that I had cancer. He didn't really know what else to say to me, to be honest. So I got off the phone not knowing what I had, how bad it was, what I needed to have done. And it was, it was pretty traumatic, to be honest. So first thing I did was I rang my mum. And she rang them back and demanded that they ring me and tell me what was going on. Eventually somebody rang me back and explained to me that I had melanoma, and that I was going to need a further operation to see whether it had spread or whether it, just how bad it was. And I just remember sitting there thinking to myself when that happened, shit, like, I've just potentially wasted so much time in my life worrying about things that probably never needed to be worried about. When you're faced with impending doom, I smile because this is actually one of the first times I've spoken about this out loud. yeah, when you're faced with that, it's a bitter pill to swallow. All I could think about was my kids, and whether I was gonna even be around to like bring them up. And honestly, in that moment, I was like, if I get through this, I swear I am gonna live every day as if it's my last, because it may well be my last year. So the next step after that was going to see a plastic surgeon, and they were amazing. They were so good, except they knew that I hadn't really processed what was going on. And the surgeon said to me, you do realise that you're going to have quite a big operation on your leg? To which I was like, how big? So I ended up having a skin flap. So basically what they had to do was, the incision that they'd done originally was around this big. I'll see if I can find a photo. So trigger warning, obviously, if you're a bit squeamish, maybe don't look. But yeah, so it was quite small. It was roughly around 1 inch long. But the second procedure meant that they were going to have to cut around about 2 or 3 centimeters away from the original incision that they did, to make sure that they got it all, and I was lucky. So after that appointment, I then had to wait, and I waited until August in 2020 to have it done. The 4th of August, I'll never forget that day. And I'm not gonna lie, I was absolutely crapping my pants, but at the same time, I just wanted whatever it was, like, out, if you know what I mean. Like, if there was anything else there, then I wanted it out. They also told me that they were going to have to remove one of my lymph nodes. So the skin, the area of skin that it was, wherever that bit of skin drains to, they had to put some dye into me, give me, like, I think it was, I can't remember what it was, not an x-ray, like some kind of scan to show up where that bit of dye went to in my lymph node. And I ended up having like surgery here as well. You can see my little scar there. This one actually feels so icky, it makes me feel really weird. You'd think it was the other one. So I went in for surgery, and they weren't sure whether they were going to have to do a skin graft or a skin flap. So the skin graft would have meant they took skin from my thigh up here and put it down onto my leg. And the skin flap meant that they would do a bit of a semicircular looking cut with a little slit and pull the skin across. I did say that obviously I was, you know, whatever they had to do, they had to do, but I would prefer to have the skin flap rather than the graft, because it just meant having another huge wound that would be open. And they took me down for surgery, and it was a really difficult time, because obviously nobody could come in the hospital with me. I was on my own. I'm not very good in these situations on my own. Well, I wasn't, but I realised just how bloody strong I am going through this situation. And I had this operation done, and when I woke up, I had my leg in a massive cast. It was very, very painful, but the sense of relief that that had been done was almost overwhelming. And then after that, I then had to wait for 8 weeks to get my results back to see if the cancer had actually spread anywhere else in my body. That's what they were testing the lymph node for. Now, I won't show you the photo of just after my surgery because it's quite graphic, but if anyone who's going through it would like to see it, just send me a message and I'm more than happy to show you. But I will show you my scar. So this is my scar. This is what we call shark bite. The shark bite just sounds so much cooler. And I then just waited for my results, and 8 weeks later I got my results back and was told that, thank goodness, it hadn't spread, so that was me done. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I just want it to be like 3-4 years later where I'm absolutely fine and everything's good. And here I am, nearly 3.5 years later, and I'm all good. So there's so much more to this, but I can't really fit anything else in. I'm about to run out of time. But if anyone's going through it, you've got this. And if you'd like me to answer any questions, I'm more than happy to. Drop them below.